Finally, I was able to solve the vent pecking problem on my farm. Guys, I struggled with this problem for the past 2 years. Yes, since 2024, I've been having this problem on the farm. Vent pecking and prolapse. I know I promised you guys that I'll come back here and talk about it and tell you what I've done. And I know this video has been long overdue, but I didn't want to come here and give you guys half-baked information. I wanted to come over here and tell you exactly what I've done to ensure that I solve this problem on my farm.
Morning comes too early, hands already warm.
Hi my farm family, I welcome you back to the channel. If you're seeing me for the very first time, my name is Flavia. I'm a poultry farmer who shares my poultry farming journey, and then I share with you what works, what fails, and what other farmers may never tell you. And in today's video, we are talking vent pecking. We are talking prolapse. I know very many farmers are struggling with this because when I shared it, I mentioned it in one of my videos, so many people reached out and they told me they had this problem. So I've also suffered with this problem on my farm since 2024. There is that batch, it was called Bovan Brown as well. I got it from Kafika, but it was a Netherland breed. I struggled with that problem, and it starts immediately when birds start laying. Actually it starts when birds make 1 year. Like they can start laying for the first 6 months, but when they make 1 year, this problem starts coming up. I struggled with that problem. I got frustrated. I was losing birds every day. Almost every single day you lose 1 or 2 birds. And initially, when I had just got that problem on the farm and I told my vet about it, the first thing he told me, Flavia, you know what? Your house has too much light. Reduce on the lighting. Friends, I bought tarpaulins and put them all over, like some parts of the house, just to see that I reduce on the lighting. Did it work for me? No, it didn't. This habit continued and continued. However, if you're struggling with this problem on your farm, please check your lighting. That could be the problem. Though on my farm, that wasn't the problem. The next thing he told me was to reduce the lighting in my laying boxes. My laying boxes, I used to pick the eggs from the outside. So yes, they had some light in them. So he told me that from the inside, try to cover them with beveras so you reduce on the what? On the lighting. I reduced on the lighting. Did it work for me? For me, it didn't. But if your laying boxes are like that on the farm and you're suffering with this same problem on your farm, please check your laying boxes. Ensure that you reduce score on the light. But for me anyway, it didn't work for me because still I could find dead birds that have been picked in the same laying boxes that I had put some darkness in. So for me, it didn't work for me. Then he told me, oh, maybe your birds are overcrowded. But I knew because in that same house, I had reared the same number of birds, though a different breed, but I never experienced that problem. So he told me, no, you see, maybe we should reduce them. In that house, I had 1,200 birds. I had a smaller house, which I wasn't using. So we removed 200 birds and separated them to a smaller house. And in that bigger house, I left only 1,000 because I was told that also when birds are overcrowded, they become stressed and then they become aggressive and start pecking on each other. So even after I removed the 200 birds, friends, for me, it still didn't work. But I was still losing birds daily. Like I even got fed up knowing that every day they are going to write mortalities, 1, 2, 1, 2, and not because of any sickness, but vent pecking. So even after I reduced on the number of birds in the house, I was still experiencing this problem. So a farmer friend of mine advised that maybe you have few feeders in your house, and with deep litter there is survival for the fittest. So maybe you increase on the number of feeders so that all the birds eat and they won't peck on each other. I went and bought more and more feeders to ensure that there is no survival for the fittest. Every lunchtime I would be in the house just to see that every bird is eating from a feeder. But still, immediately after serving lunch, you come inside to pick eggs. You realize one dead bird, and when you check the vent has been pecked and the bird is already dead. So for me, still, that didn't work. I had solved the overcrowding issue. My birds were not overcrowded, yes, but I was told at least to reduce them. So for me, that wasn't a problem. Reducing on the lights wasn't a problem. Like I had done it all. Then still my vet advised, your birds could be bored. Why don't you every evening, or when they don't have feed in their feeders, get them some greens? I have greens all over outside. So every evening we were hanging for them greens just to reduce on the boredom so that they don't peck each other. And I wasn't doing these things just for a short time, but everything I was being told to do, I was giving it a lot of time because I covered my house for over 6 months. We were giving them greens for over 2 months, but still, I would find dead birds that had pecked each other. And the thing with pecking, it's not something that happens just once in a while. When birds start pecking each other, when they start that vent pecking issue, it is a habit that goes on and on and on and on. So at least every day you pick a dead bird. If you're lucky, you would skip a day, but either one or two. I had really made so many losses in vent pecking. So then after we had realized the problem wasn't with the lights, the problem wasn't with the spacing, the problem wasn't with boredom, my vet said maybe the problem is with calcium. But I'm one person who who checks my feed. Like I even take it to the lab to ensure that all the nutrients are properly balanced. But he told me, what, you add DCP in your feed. Is it called DCP, whatever. You add it in your feed and you won't experience this issue. Well, for me, whenever I added DCP, this issue could just, whenever I added DCP, I would lose more birds than I was actually losing. I'm telling you the truth. Like every time I added DCP, this problem would just increase like it. So for me, even the DCP didn't work for me. I struggled so much with vent pecking. On the last flock that I offlaid, I kept that flock for 2 years. But if I tell you the number of birds that I lost due to vent pecking, it was quite a number. After we had exhausted all the solutions on that particular flock, my vet advised, what, it could be a breed issue because so many people who are bringing birds from Europe, they are facing that issue. So I just gave up on trying. I gave up on all the solutions because I knew maybe it's a what? It's a breed issue. I later offlaid those birds. Now I have another laying flock. That flock turned 1 year this year in January. It turned 1 year this year in January. And the moment it turned 1 year, it also started the vent pecking. This time I was not for it because I knew the number of birds I had lost in the last flock. So I said this time round I have to solve this issue. I have to get to the root cause of this problem. I'm not ready to lose more birds. I called my vet around. I told him, what, these birds are in another house. This house doesn't have the same lighting as that upper house, but I've started losing birds, and this time I'm not for it. We have to solve it. Either we are ready baking, because he had told me, maybe we need to ready bake. I was ready. I was very much ready to ready bake. But then I remember sharing this issue still on my YouTube. I remember sharing it and very many people reached out. A lady told me, Flavia, even if you really bake, birds are still going to peck each other. She had told me she had also done it on her farm, but it didn't solve anything. So I was very skeptical because when you really bake already laying birds, those are losses because the recovery time they're going to take the time they're going to take to recover, they are not going to be laying well. Some may never even lay again because you've stressed them a lot. So we didn't really big. But I told my vet, what causes these birds to really be pecking themselves? I didn't actually tell you what vent pecking is. Vent pecking is when birds start pecking themselves in the vent area. The vent area is the area where the eggs come from, like where the eggs get where the vent is where the eggs come from when they are laying. So what used to happen on my farm was this, is that when birds lay, normally the intestine gets out with the egg, and usually the intestine goes back immediately. But what used to happen here on the farm is that when my birds lay, this intestine, when it comes out, it takes long to go back. And when these other birds see it, they see something great, something swollen, they start pecking on it, and the bird dies. So the problem was the intestine taking long to go back inside. And what causes that? If this intestine, actually he told me, if this intestine takes long to go back, they are lacking vitamin D, they are lacking energy, and they are lacking calcium. But remember, in my feed I had maize, I had the calcium, and I had also given them vitamin D a while back. So he told me maybe they are not absorbing it very well. And usually when birds are not absorbing these nutrients very well, the problem is with the liver. So this I did exactly on the farm. I got a liver tonic and I gave it to my birds for 5 days. After giving them the liver tonic for 5 days, I changed my feed. I removed the lime completely and I added shells. For me, I believe that the lime on the market isn't good enough. It doesn't have the right calcium, because I was also getting a lot of damaged eggs. And after adding in the shells, we also added chlorine chloride in the feed. So normally what causes the vent pecking problem, you'll be told things like overcrowding, which is true. If your birds are overcrowded in the house, then the too much light, if you have so much light in your house and the laying boxes, then also if your birds lay very big eggs, sometimes farmers, we oversupplement our birds and they start laying very big eggs, which causes prolapse. And when these other birds see that swollen part of it or the blood, they start pecking the same bird and it dies. And one thing with pecking is that it's a continuous habit. It doesn't just stop. After pecking one bird, the birds will peck the next bird. You'll find yourself losing birds every now and then. Then also, if your birds are usually bored, usually the boredom comes if your birds are underfed. They will be completing their feed very fast, and then they become bored, then they become aggressive and start pecking on each other. Then you'll also be told things like you didn't debeak very well, maybe your beaks are really long. Then also, if your birds lack nutrients in their feed, nutrients like calcium, energy, vitamin D3, all these things contribute to vent pecking. However, I was not having these problems on the farm. What was happening on my farm was that usually when birds are laying, the egg comes with the intestine, and the intestine has to immediately go back. What was happening on my farm is that intestine was taking very long to go back inside. So my vet told me that usually when the intestine takes long to go back inside, it's because birds are lacking certain nutrients. I already had these nutrients in my feed, but my birds were not able to absorb those nutrients. So how were we able to solve that? First of all, I had to work on their liver, because if the liver isn't functioning very well, then birds are not able to absorb all the nutrients you give them in their feed or even in their water. So I first gave my birds liver tonic for 5 days, and when we completed the liver tonic, I included shells in their feed. I removed the lime because the lime wasn't really doing it for me. I removed the lime and added the shells. Then I included chlorine chloride in their feed. Then also my feed supplier advised that I include blood meal in their feed. If you're to see my video about what I feed my laying birds, you realize that I include some blood meal in their feed. And I've just started doing that recently. So I also included blood meal. Then I changed my lighting program. Initially, we were switching off the lights anytime we wanted or when we were going to sleep, sometimes at midnight, sometimes at 11. But now we are very particular. We switch off the lights exactly at 9 p.m. And then also I removed all the wounded birds that I had then and put them in a smaller house. And for those wounded birds, I bought oxtetracycline spray and started spraying them. They were able to heal. And now, for now, over 1 month and a half, I've not had the vent pecking problem on my farm. So I can reliably tell you that for me, it was a nutrition issue. And it's not that I didn't have these nutrients in my feed, but my birds were not able to absorb those nutrients. So when you notice that your birds are overweight, when you notice that the comb isn't so red, before you think of all these other solutions, before you're told, because me, I was even told it's a breed issue, that's why I had given up on the other flock. But when it was happening now on my current laying flock, I knew it wasn't a breed issue because these are completely two different breeds. That's what I did on the farm, and I was able to solve the vent pecking problem. I hope this video helps a farmer out there who is struggling with this problem. Before you debeak your birds again and make losses, before you sell them off, please check, are your birds absorbing the nutrients in their feed? Is the liver functioning very well? Check out for all that. I'm sure it's going to help you like it helped me. Thank you for watching. See you in another one. May the good Lord bless you. Bye bye.